Hello everybody, and welcome to another Feed the Beast bee tutorial. Last episode we got some bees from our beehives that we scooped up over there, and now I have a bunch of them sitting in my inventory, all happy and ready to do some stuff today. So let's get into regular survival mode, since I killed that zombie that was bugging us last time. And let's talk about the best way to store your bees when they're not in use, because we don't have these guys in a apiary, alveary, or bee house right now. So where should we put them? Well, you can very simply put them into chests. And I have these diamond chests here where we can just put them in. But, is that really what we want to do? I think there's a better chest we can make. Here we have the apiarist chest, the arborist chest, and the lepidopterist chest. And these are three special blocks from forestry that act as basically chests for bees, trees, and butterflies. So we can place down our butterfly chest, our tree chest, and our bee chest. And they look nice, they have really cool textures, I like them. And since we don't have any trees or butterflies right now, let's take a look at the bee chest. Species 1, queen 6, how many princesses, how many drones? Okay, so we have discovered one species. I'm not sure why that's saying that, but that's okay. And this basically works as an internal database, I guess you could say. And that's not the best word because we're going to look at an actual database in an upcoming episode. But it kind of works as a storage for your bees. We can place our embittered in here. And as you mouse over it, you'll see that it has a ton of question marks and stuff on the left. That's showing different mutations that come from the embittered princesses. This was mainly before NEI plugins came out with forestry stuff, where you could simply just, hit the U on the bee and see what it was used for and stuff along that nature. There's also the Escritoire, that's how I like to say it, right here, which also is a forestry tool added with the realization's the wrong word there, but with the understanding that there is no way to figure out what breeds into what, this little guy would do a little game to show you how to figure out different species of bees, trees, and butterflies. So we may play around with him in an upcoming episode, but I may leave him out just because he's kind of outdated for the versions of forestry that we're in right now. So we can place in all of our bees. We can separate them between different spots. You can see that the water drones have more mutations than the embittered. Then you have the Rockies, which also have a ton. And you can fill 5 pages worth of these. So it's a really good place to store your bees. Just one simple chest. And it should be noted what it takes to make this really is not that bad. It's just going to be some of the combs, and you can easily get those from just breaking beehives. And then a simple chest and a piece of glass. Very, very easy. It's the same for this guy, except it's saplings. And then same for this, except it's butterflies. Very cool. Do I have anything set up to craft? No. That's because I want to talk about the 3 types of beehives that you can keep in the game. So let's start really quickly with the bee house. And the bee house is basically the most basic way of storing your bees. You can see that there's a slot for the queen, a slot for the drone, and then a slot for any items that are formed, as well as the drones once the bee dies. You can see it has the normal no queen little thing for you, gives you the temperature and climate and stuff of the area, gives you all kinds of the different, owner, blah blah blah, all good. You should notice that there is no spot here that this guy has, and I'll talk about that in a sec, and then this guy also doesn't have it. So while this seems like it's the big huge apiary, why doesn't that have those spots? We're going to talk about that. So the bee house, the major downside to it is you can't automate this guy at all, because you can't pump items in and out of it, so no pipes will attach to it. Let me just show that real quick. Pipe. We'll grab simple buildcraft pipes, because who doesn't love them? And if we try to place one down, you'll see that doesn't connect. Over here, however, it does. So you can't automate these at all, which sucks. The one upside to them is they are really cheap to make. They'll just require some slabs, some planks, and then one comb of your choice. So pretty easy to make. You could probably crank out a lot of those depending on how your bees are running. So you may be thinking, well, why would I even waste my time doing this? Well, the one awesome thing that bee houses do is they speed up the pollination of trees. So if you're somebody who's mainly doing bees to focus on making these awesome trees here, such as this avocado tree that you can get avocados from, wow, that completely proved me wrong. It's not going to get any avocados now. Got a sapling. Wow. Okay, well that was unfortunate. But this will speed up the pollination of trees, which we will talk about, and it makes it a little bit faster, so I would recommend using bee houses if you're going down tree path instead of bee path. The bees work faster in here, increasing the pollination chance, like I said, and it also elongates the life of the bee. So the bee will last longer in the bee house, which is kind of nice and super awesome, but the one other downside to this is bees cannot breed and mutate into new species in here. So if we were combined a simple meadows and forest, which creates a common bee in any other situation, it would never actually become a common bee. So you always want to breed in either an apiary or an alveary. So that is the bee house. The apiary is your second tier, and he's simply made, not very simply actually, because you're going to need the seed oil like I talked about previously, with some wood in the carpenter. And we're going to make apiaries in the next episode when we cover all of the forestry machines needed for bees. That's kind of my plan for next episode. Upside to these, they can be automated, as you see, and we will talk about automation in a future episode. The apiary, like I said previously, can breed bees, and it also has these slots here, and these are for frames. And you can see if you type in frames into your NEI, there's a ton of different frames of chocolate, the restraint, soul, healing, nova, untreated, impregnated, proven, magic, resilient, all of these frames, okay? Super cool. What they basically do is a lot of different stuff to affect the life, the mutation chances, the productivity of the bee. And we're going to go into actually an entire episode on bees and math and genetics, as well as frames in that episode and how these affect the productivity of bees, which is really, really cool. But the apiary can have frames in it. The bee house cannot have frames in it. So that is another downside to the bee house. And then this guy can have frames in it, but it's going to be a little bit more difficult to get the frames in it. And I'm going to show you exactly what I mean by that in a sec. Another upside to all of these beehives, actually, well, kind of with this one. As it is, it doesn't need power, but if you add some certain stuff to it, it will. But like I said, none of these need power to run. If you are using the Gindustry mod, then you are going to need power to run the industrial apiary, but these regular forestry apiaries do not need to have power. Another awesome thing that apiaries do is when bees are in it, there is a chance that flowers will spawn along the side of the apiary, which could, in all honesty, turn into a giant flower dye farm if you really wanted to. That would be one really awesome way of doing things. Have some kind of water system that spills them. Really cool. I think that's an awesome idea. I just thought of that off the top of my head right now. The tool to break apiaries is a pickaxe, so don't try and break with an axe even though it's all made of wood. It breaks very easily with a pickaxe. Awesome. Now, why would we make this giant guy? So alvearies are made with alveary blocks, kind of self-explanatory there, and you're going to need, well, 9 times 2 times another one, which is 27. I just worded that really, really poorly, but that's okay. You're going to need to make a multi-block structure of these, and multi-blocks are awesome. That's why I like alvearies. But basically, it's a time to dawn. You need to make a 3x3 box, and then you're going to put slabs on the top of it. And they need to be wood slabs of any color, really. I used oak just because I think it looks nice, and it looks like the apiary here. But it makes this giant structure. And you can go into it. It has the same little interface as these do, minus the frames right here. And they are really expensive to make. And I wrote this down on a sheet of paper next to me just so that I had this all put into account. It takes 216 pollen, 216 royal jelly, 432 beeswax, 648 wooden planks, 1080 honey drops, 216 logs, and 6,750 millibuckets of seed oil, which is 675 seeds, which is a lot. That's close to 11 stacks of seeds just to make one of these. So you're probably thinking to yourself, why in the world would I make this when I can make these and have a ton of them for much less? alvearies are really, really cool. And part of the reason they're cool is because they have all of these additions to them that you can put on them. Alveary lighting, which will make it eternally light, and therefore any bees that won't work during the night will work with this alveary lighting. The alveary fan, which can cool down the temperatures, so if you have a wintry bee that doesn't like the climate you're in, you could put the fan in there to cool it down. On the opposite, a heater. You also have the hygroregulator, which controls the humidity. So if you have a bee that likes a higher humidity or lower, you could put this in with certain items to regulate that. And then you also have the stabilizer and the sieve. I'm not sure what the stabilizer does. I'm going to have to look into that. But the sieve will collect pollen for you if you have silk meshes in it. I'm not sure what the name of those are. Silk. Wow, am I typing right now? Woven silk. My apologies. And those are made from silk wisp, which you get from Silky Propolis. We're going to talk about the importance of that probably in a very soon episode. But you can put those in and kind of just replace them into the side of the alveary, and you'll see that automatically, you can't multi-block it anymore. But we could put in, a sieve right into there, and it's going to reform in a few seconds. Give it a little bit. A little bit. Don't make a fool out of me. There we go. And we can now access this block and put in our woven silk, and I'll explain more about that when we get to tree breeding. So, you may be thinking now, well, that's a little bit more useful, but I still don't really see the uses of it, especially when I have extra bees where I can change the certain traits of bees. Well, the speed of this apiary is only 10% of the speed of this guy with productivity. So if you were to put the frame housing, which is a block that we can stick into the alveary, and then now we can put frames into here, that's why you can put frames into the alveary, you can end up speeding up the alveary to be 100% better than the apiary. And that could pump out a lot of materials for you in a short span of time. So I definitely recommend. There's nothing greater than the feeling of having a ton of apiaries producing pollen and jelly and beeswax and honey, and finally getting enough to make your first alveary. And then from there, you just get a ton of alvearies and you just start going. And the nice thing about these is you can also put them into the ground more. So if you didn't want to have this huge 3x3 structure, you could shrink it down 2 blocks into the ground so you only have this top layer showing. And essentially you could only have slabs on the ground, but that seems a little bit strange. I wouldn't do that. But yeah, those are the 3 ways to house bees when they're in use. We also have our chest to house bees when they're not in use. And next episode, we're going to talk about, what are we going to talk about? The lifestyle of a bee, we're going to say. And we're going to talk about how it lives, the certain traits that bees have, what are the best traits for your bees, and kind of what life is like for them inside of the apiary as they mature and breed. So thank you all for watching this next episode of the bee tutorial series. I'm really appreciating all the support that you guys are giving me. I posted the first video and did not expect this to get that many views. So thank you so much for that. And check out my other series. Thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you next time. Goodbye!